I knew that Szymon Soloveitchik was born in 1873 in Kopacz, but Kopacz was a hard place to find. It didn't appear on any of my maps of the Soviet Union. Whenever I asked my father where exactly it was, he'd simply tell me, "It's somewhere in the Pale of Settlement," which was one of the only regions of Tsarist Russia where Jews had been permitted to live. At one point, the Pale encompassed 472,000 square miles of the Russian Empire, so looking for Kopacz was like trying to find the proverbial needle in a haystack. Ultimately, however, serendipity struck. One of my constituents told me that his son was a cartographer at Stanford University, and he could locate old towns that had long since vanished. I asked if he might help me find Kopacz, and 3 weeks later I received 2 beautiful, full-color maps in the mail pinpointing it in western Belarus, just east of the Lithuanian border. A place that I could only imagine was now real. My interest in Kopacz grew when I asked a friend who was traveling to Belarus to see if he would visit the village and let me know what he found. He reported back with wonderful news. "It's a small little community," he said. "It's fascinating, and you've got to go there." To me, this was like an archaeologist telling the world that, yes, the biblical town of Jericho exists, and there is a remnant of a wall that came tumbling down. The trip to my grandfather's birthplace was an adventure. I flew to Vilnius, the capital of Lithuania, and headed toward Minsk, the capital of Belarus. What should have been a 2-hour drive in my rental car became a maddening half-day trip, including a 4-hour confrontation with Belarusian customs officials at the border. The next day, interpreter in tow, I began my search for Kopacz. Long after my grandfather died, my parents published a tribute book that chronicled his life in detail. One contributor remembered that Szymon, as a young boy, used to play near his father's mill down by the river. When I arrived, I began looking for a river with a nearby flour mill, but I was quickly disappointed. There was nothing even remotely like that in sight. Then I spied 2 elderly women sitting on a bench in front of a small bungalow, with one of them eyeing me suspiciously. I had a video cam and a still camera dangling from my neck, and I probably looked like a foreign agent. Sensing that direct communication might be the best icebreaker, I went to speak with them. Luckily, I speak enough Russian to carry a simple conversation. I introduced myself to the frowning babushka and first told her that my grandfather had been born in the village. "I've come back to see where my ancestors came from," I said. Her demeanor changed instantly. She smiled and said that I was fortunate to be able to travel so far. "I can't even remember the last time I traveled to the next town, 7 kilometers up the road," she told me.